How does being a police officer affect your family? Well, no family is immune to the challenges that can present themselves when someone in the family is working in law enforcement. So check out this trailer for the upcoming documentary, Is There Something Going On at Home? And then I'll see you at the end of the trailer to talk about it.
At first, it seemed like everything was going to be great. He took care of Angela, he took her everywhere, he played with her, really a good father. And then I remember him saying to me that I was a federal agent working with the DEA, going after some of the baddest criminals out there, and now I'm home babysitting a baby. He was not able to let go of the job at all. And he had to focus that energy somewhere. And it was on us. And it was a living nightmare.
So I used to get these flashbacks all the time. And that's what I think started me going into a spiral downhill.
I came home, I was irritable to her. She said, "You're not gonna bring that home to me." When she did say that, yeah, it started to hit like, I'm not who I thought I was. I mean, this job has changed me. So many police officers are not gonna admit that.
He goes back after 5 weeks and it is still fresh. That baby is still fresh and I'm still tired. And you're having these weird shifts and I gotta keep this baby asleep. It's the first tinge of single parentdom.
Every class I ask this question, how many communities do we belong to? And family is always brought up. And which is the most important community? And it's always family. But if that's the case, why is our divorce rate so high?
How about if you teach them both in the relationship how to win at the relationship so they both get what they want and they're happy and healthy. And if something happens here, they know that when they go home, they have stable people, they have support, they have people that love them unconditionally and will do whatever the next step is. That's what we need.
Is there something going on at home? Is a big question.
There you have it. You met my wife, Rachel, and if our story can help at least one couple stay together like we were able to stay together, then so be it. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be that you get out of law enforcement, but you have to work it out. Bottom line, you got to put in the work. And I can tell you right now, it wasn't easy to talk about this, particularly when being interviewed with bright lights on me and a camera in my face, but all I thought to myself was, I know that it's possible to work your way through hard times, and I know that others are going through hard times, so let's talk about it, because for so many people who are battling challenges, you feel like you're alone. Guess what? You're not. But I want to pick up more about what we are going to talk about in the full film, and that's some of the challenges that can present themselves in policing, particularly for the family. And the first one is shift work, irregular hours, because an officer might have 12-hour shifts, say 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., and then they go do extra assignments, whether it be involuntary or voluntary, like I did. And this can get particularly tough if an officer works night shift and the house has kids, particularly younger kids. It's harder for the kids to be quiet during the day, and thus an officer is trying to sleep. It's hard. And trust me, I did the whole earplugs thing. It didn't work all that well. The next thing is stress and mental health, because the job can be very demanding, and sleep, unfortunately, is hard to come by when working as a police officer. So you start off with bad sleep, and then a lot of officers, unfortunately, choose to eat horrifically, so therefore they feel horrifically. There actually are dangerous calls that an officer go on, some things they're not supposed to see, that can just run on repeat in their heads that generate negative emotions because of those negative thoughts. But then an officer could have, say, trauma from childhood, and then something later down the road, particularly exposed to in law enforcement, could set off old, recalled trauma. It's a recipe for disaster. But also there's negativity within the police department, and that negativity can bleed into the officer's well-being, and then it can bleed into the family. There's so many different things about it. The next thing is there's obviously that risk of injury and or death when a family member works as a police officer. There's no guarantee you're going to come home. Another thing is, and this is what I battled sometimes, was just kind of these asocial tendencies where law enforcement just feels pulled away from the general public because, well, the general public doesn't have to deal with what police officers have to deal with. with. It's not easy to see someone who's been dead for a few days and then go tell their family your loved one was found deceased, and the family just starts bawling their eyes out. Those were the toughest times for me, was the death notifications, particularly during calls when we were on successful suicides. It was always very sad. But of course, I would suck it up and say, oh, I'm fine, no big deal. Little did I know it was bleeding into my family life because of how I was being with just wanting to isolate a little bit. And it was starting to become a pattern where I was feeling indifferent. And then whenever I would go out with my family and my friends, I had to have my back to the door, and I would always be watching other people. And I thought I was being aware, but it was actually hypervigilance. That goes back to that stress and mental health, because hypervigilance is not a good thing. You're always on alert, you're always aware, but your body's still firing off stress chemicals. That's not good, and it affected my ability to connect with my wife. The next thing is police officers, because they can relate to other officers so much, can run the risk of having all their friends being in law enforcement, which is not good at all. You have to have friends outside of the profession. Wife works in law enforcement and her husband doesn't work in law enforcement. They go to these social events. The cops are having a great time and the spouses are just kind of standing there like, sometimes just like, oh, this is a little off. Sometimes, not all the time. And are there other stressors? Yes. Mine in particular, I was eating up the job of canine so much. Like I was living for the job, and I, in fact, internalized it like it was my identity. And we're going to go over that more in the documentary. You'll get to hear the full story and meet my family and see how it all played out. So does being a police officer affect the family? Yes, it does. Does it have to lead to like really hard times like I ended up in? No, absolutely not. You have to be proactive, not reactive, because when challenges hit, that puts you in a reactive state. You have to be proactive. So I will let you know when the full film comes out. Thanks again for watching another video. Take care of yourself, and may God bless.